Hello, team. Another line warcast today. This time we're doing something a little bit different. We were on stream the other day playing ladder, and we ran into World Supreme Leader, our friend World Supreme Leader, and it was a quite good game. And they asked us to cast it at the end, so why not? We're gonna do it. We're gonna take a look at it. I haven't looked at the replay yet, so we can get an idea of exactly what's going on. World Supreme Leader is in red. We can see that they're going to spawn on the bottom side of this map, and yours truly, SodaQuackers, is in blue, and will be spoilers spawning in the top. We can see the map. There's a North Island with a city that we can develop, and two little islands in the middle of the ocean. And when I say we, I just mean in general, like a player could develop this. So World Supreme Leaders in the bottom, starting in all like the mountains and the forests, going immediately for eco, which is, like can be very wow. This is actually, oh, I thought it was a, is this a city immediately? Yeah, okay. So this is a very greedy but strong economic play from World Supreme Leader for going for a city immediately. We'll be able to see the economy of World Supreme Leader probably pop off a little bit in a second. It's at 338 right now, and ours is at 272. So right off the bat, this is huge economy. SodaQuackers isn't I don't understand. Do I do this in third person? It feels so weird to cast a replay where we're one of the like players. But I guess we'll say we. Yeah, we'll say we and World Supreme Leader. Now, for context, we ran into World Supreme Leader a few days ago after they had just done their placement matches, and they were a 17 MMR rated player, and they beat us 4 times in a row. So we tanked from 31 to whatever the math means. But we saw them the other day. They were already at 25. So props to World Supreme Leader. Naturally giving me a hell of a time playing them. So we can see that we're going to go for a quick little dock, and we're going to get this North Island because it's relatively safe. We're assuming that they're spawning in the bottom. There's no real other place on the map that you kind of could do this. World Supreme Leader clearly going for that quick econ and an airfield, and this is a gas, I think so. No, this is a airport, isn't it? It's an airport that looks kind of sketchy in the mountains. So double airport with a city. Love it. How can you not? We don't even have buildings. We have an airport and 2 barracks, and 3 barracks rather. So we're going kind of hard on capping. One of the things that the North Island or north part of the island probably affords is because there's not as much forest and mountain, our infantry get to move quicker because, as we can see, there's a speed penalty through the mountains, which is quite high. There's not as much of a speed penalty through the forest, but it's still, you take away like a third of your infantry's movement speed. So capping wise, it's much quicker to go through open field. First little transport boat for us, that's going to grab some folks and go across. This is pretty easy economy to develop, and if we're really quick, we can get our own city relatively quickly and safely. We can look if there's anything else that's going on for World Supreme Leader in the back. We're going to call World Supreme Leader from now on to make it easier. 2 factories going down for Supreme Leader, and because this is an open field, potentially spoilers, tanks are really good in open fields. So this might be exactly what these are for. You can see the gas locations for Supreme Leader. This is a very safe gas on the ocean. These 3 gases can kind of get hit by the water, but you have to wonder if your opponent is going to send boats down the coastline to get these. Because if they don't, then these are also like relatively tucked away. There's a 3rd factory on the way for Supreme Leader, and we ourselves are getting 2 factories at this point. First little boat is almost full, or rather like folks are sprinting their butts over to it, getting in. It's so cute how they become small. It's just like 4 tiny little people in the boat. We can look at the income, 450 for us and 626 for World Supreme Leader. So, I mean, there's probably a way to like kind of counterplay this quick city, which is probably just get a city of our own, I'd imagine. I it makes sense to me. Someone can comment like, "Hey, no, that doesn't make sense," and you're an idiot and you're a duck. And yeah, I know that. I know we're a duck. We almost have this top little part. This city isn't obviously like the best city that the North Island has to offer. It's this one up here. We are getting our gas at this point, and we are continuing to invest in a navy because we don't like getting behind on the naval game. Because nothing is more frustrating than when you know the game is going well, and then all of a sudden you've lost the navy advantage, and now boats are parked up against the coast, and they can kind of like screw with planes that fly near the coast and whatever, right? Uh, Supreme Leaders has 2 choppers already. That's what these 2 quick airports is going to afford, and they're following this up with interceptors, which is go. I mean, this like combination of helicopter interceptor feels very strong, because like the way to counter it is if SAMs, of course, like groups of SAMs, and having those SAMs in the right spots to take out these air units, because they are like relatively fragile, and against SAMs these things drop pretty quickly. So we can see what's kind of what we're going to follow up with. We have gone for tanks for whatever reason. We're not a tank player, but we're doing it, and I think in general tanks, the whole play that you want to make is that you kind of retreat, move them around the army, and you get on top of your opponent's production. The other use for tanks, I feel, is to just fight other tanks. It's kind of this like weird feeling when you see your opponent go for tanks. It's unless you have an air advantage, maybe playing with tanks against them is the play. We'll see how this kind of shakes out in a second, this kind of interaction between the unit types. World Supreme Leader is getting their gas now. In fact, they're getting 2 gases because their tanks are about to start moving, and they do have those 2 airports. We can see that they're immediately out of gas. We can check our gas, and we do have a healthy supply, and we're able to field this navy. And the navies generally take up a lot of gas, but because we only have 2 tanks, they're not really moving. We're not losing gas at this point. We can check the economy again. 572 for us, 674 for Supreme Leader. So I'd say like immediately the start clearly is better for Supreme Leader. I think, at least. Like this quick city that was built with pre-construction money. Sounds such a weird word, pre-construction. Anyway, pre-construction money just meaning the stuff that you can put down buildings immediately, and they will build immediately. You don't have to wait for the build animation to happen. At the very beginning of the game, your first buildings are just insta-built. If that wasn't clear by this point. Land-wise, the way that we have a lot of control in the north here. We have a lot of control of the North Island, obviously, and this is your demarcation line, kind of by where these mountains are. This little skirmish going on in the middle. We've gone for interceptors ourselves. We usually don't play interceptors. We apparently did this game. This is good for us right now because there's no SAMs from Supreme Leader, so these planes are able to kind of do their thing without any hazard. We can see the SAMs kind of coming online now for Supreme Leader, and these 2 tanks are kind of booking it. The idea in general would be to get on the production. Is it going to happen right now? The interceptor against helicopters are pretty good. As you can imagine, we can see if this one is actually hit. And like, by the way, there's so many things that go on in a Line War game. We barely remember playing this at this point. Like, it's all just a blur of panic and despair. The North Island for us, we have a barracks on it, so we're going to be able to cap it a little bit quicker. This is great economic development that we can have. There's actually 2 cities up here, so that's a huge amount of income if we're able to get that up and running. We can check the economy again. We are almost at 700, and World Supreme Leader is also. We've actually caught up quite a bit. The difference is that World Supreme Leader has 5 factories, and we have 2. A bunch of the infantry on the north are able to reinforce and like head down south. This feels like a big push that's brewing, and we can look at the players' lines to kind of understand what their thought process is. Supreme Leaders kind of pushing through the middle here. We can see where our lines are. just randomly everywhere. Really, this group of this team is kind of going deep into enemy territory. We don't have any commandos right now. We don't even have a barracks in place to be able to make good commandos. Maybe this one over time, but I think the middle of the map is going to become the big fighting area in the next few minutes. This is a very aggressive forward airfield from Supreme Leader, but I like it. If you're not, if you're not gonna build an airfield in your opponent's face, why even play the game? Because if you can actually keep this, then it's probably better to build it back. I feel like, especially at least building it in the mountains so that it gets that defensive bonus. But, I mean, who really knows if that's the play? These destroyers have found this airfield. This is unfortunate the airfield is so close to the water, because now these boats can actually take it out. These missile boats for us are kind of just sitting here. In general, we probably actually want them about here, so it kind of cuts off this retreat path. We can see that there's a lot of artillery and just like power brewing for Supreme Leader in the middle. Our tanks are fighting their tanks. Remember how I said, like, tanks, they feel like they either should just sprint by everything, get on the production, and try to kill some buildings, or fight other tanks. Feels like their only use. Supreme Leader sees that this group is going in the back. The smart play is probably to just like kind of retreat move these four onto one of these buildings. It's going to take a long time for Supreme Leader to be able to move like artillery pieces back to defend or something. There's no barracks in place to defend, so we would probably be able to kill this before these interceptors were able to kill infantry. There's a helicopter on it now, which will help out because helicopters are way better against ground forces than interceptors are. And over time, I think these boats are going to be able to get this airfield. This is a scary push in a lot of ways. If there's some grouping by Supreme Leader, and they're able to kind of like get good. Like, there's a lot of infantry for us here, but that's not really going to help if there's a bunch of artillery for Supreme Leader. We can see us just YOLOing interceptors right into the middle of, what is this, 3 SAMs, which actually isn't too bad. If there were more SAMs, it would be worse, but really the question becomes, why launch the interceptors when there's nothing in the air for the opponent? Right? Like, the whole point of interceptors is that they kill air units really well. We are following up with more factories. We've actually developed a little bit of econ in the north of the map. We have a full tank of gas, and here's a little sneaky barracks in the mountains, so it has like a little bit of a stealth modifier. And the whole idea is we're going to attack these factories. Nickname, who's a very high, like a top player on the ladder, reminded us live during stream, don't attack the middle building. Attack like the ones on the outside, because then your units don't really get unit blocked by theirs as much. They're able to get to that thing quicker and take it out quicker, and that's the whole point of like these backstabs. We can see that interceptors just flying over SAMs generally aren't it. This is not going to be the move 9 times out of 10. You're going to see a lot of that from us in this game. We certainly are not, super good at keeping our interceptors. It's in general why, at our skill level, we probably should just go for strikers, because strikers are a little bit easier to use, I think, at least. This is a good grouping of artillery. One of the things about artillery, like, if you can really just get a kind of blob of them and really push, it's so strong. And if they have SAM cover, it's even stronger, because naturally one of the best things you can do against artillery is obviously go air. So we can really see how all that infantry kind of pointed out earlier just ran into all these SAMs. This airfield is done. There's 2 gases on the bottom here. These units were not able to get the city, and we can check in on the economy. It's 832 for us, and it is 722 for World Supreme Leader. So World Supreme Leader is a little bit behind at this point. Not really sure who has more on the map. Certainly in the middle here, World Supreme Leader has more. This is actually enough that they will probably be able to take out these buildings, it feels like, at least one of them. We can see our development on the north. We have this entire North Island. We have not developed any of the cities, really just this one piece of one industry spot, but that's not really that much for us. Could be doing a lot better to keep ahead economically. If we can get defensive with some artillery, we'll be able to hold this push. The left side is a little bit scary, and what it will come down to in a lot of ways is like where these SAMs are. Because if the SAMs are in good positions, like they're about to be, they'll just one-shot these interceptors. We can see the interceptors got one helicopter. We might get two, but since the SAMs show up, you kind of have to land the interceptors, or rather 3 interceptors over 6 or so SAMs doesn't really feel that ideal. And this is also where strikers might be the better move, because it can deal better with these artillery blobs, because when the SAMs are over here, if we had strikers instead, we could actually send them to the left here and be able to deal with all this artillery. We can see how the commandos are doing. They are moving behind enemy lines. These 3s are just chilling right on the beach. And it looks wonderful, but very useless. Not sure if we get this. Like we said, we probably need to be, well, we do need to be targeting this outside barracks instead of the inside one. We have missile boats parked up here just in case these planes, so they can't go on the coast there. And we are, like, we'll see if this push that's kind of amassing for Supreme Leader is going to be able to do a bunch of damage. These interceptors are just flying over SAM still, and there's nothing in the air. There's one helicopter coming. We'll see how how this goes, if we're even able to kill one. But you can just see how devastating like a handful of SAMs over interceptors just fly right over them are. I mean, all 3 of those interceptors are dead, and in large part this is going to make this push much more difficult to deal with. This is definitely a panic barracks or a factory by us. I think we really could have econned instead of making another factory, because if we group a bunch of artillery here, by the time the reinforcements from Supreme Leader get here, we'll have enough to be able to push it back. So we want to actually econ so that we get ahead in that way. We don't need more production to defend, and when you don't need more production to defend, you can just, you know, it feels like you should be able to put down economy. I think the idea with these infantry is that these SAMs are kind of out of position, but we aren't really grouped up here, so this many SAMs actually could take this many infantry. We can check the economy now. We have 938, World Supreme Leader at 746, so a little bit behind us, and we'll have to see if there's any more economic development going on, or what the idea is. I think World Supreme Leader will need to potentially make it up to this part of the map in the north to get that economy, or else they'll need to kill us here, because they have not expanded to any other part of the map. So if they suspect that we have, you kind of have 2 options. You either, you know, try to take this territory and get economy, or you try to expand yourself, maybe to get this island in the middle of the map with the city on it. This is a good spot and good cleanup by World Supreme Leader here on this barracks, on this sneaky backdoor barracks. This factory will likely die, but this is a good grouping, and we're going to see how this big push goes next. This is a lot of helicopters from World Supreme Leader, and it's great because they get to go uncontested. They've really identified that this is a spot where we don't have SAMs, and when there's no SAMs, helicopters are able to just run rampant. We're not really sure. The infantry do shoot at helicopters, but it doesn't feel like it's all that effective, which, you know, makes sense. You wouldn't imagine that small arms fire is effective. We are ecoing behind this, as we can see, which I think, and I mean, we made the play, so I stand by it. I think in this position we do want to eco. We have enough production to be able to deal with this. The thing that we are actually lacking is anti-air. There's we really don't have any SAMs at this point. And so like these helicopters are going to get tons and tons of value. And if, you know, things like this, if they're able to pick off buildings or get rid of these artillery pieces, then Supreme Leader is going to be able to get on top of the production and then, you know, slowly snowball the game. It doesn't matter if we have a better economy if we lose all of our production. We can see that this destroyer has found this gas. It was, you know, we patrolled down here just to see what gases that World Supreme Leader has and potentially deny them. That one will get denied. We'll watch and see if we're smart enough and on top of it enough to get the rest of the refineries. And this push is kind of running up against the brick wall of artillery, because we've been able to group at this point. And if we had a few more SAMs, it would be sweet. We can see that we're starting to kind of panic produce some SAMs if we actually look at what we're building. Yeah, some of our factories are just probably producing only SAMs at this point. This left side now becomes a problem, but economically we are almost at 1,000. World Supreme Leader is at 800. This development is not doing that good. We only have 2 industries here. We're finally moving to this island, which is the worst island of all. So at some point, I believe in the game, someone in chat said, go to the actual good island with the city, you dummy. Not exactly like that, but that's what they meant, and I appreciate it because it's the right call. We actually want to be moving to this island so we can secure this city, and more importantly, make sure that they don't have it, because if they do, we need to get rid of it. This is kind of a moment in the game where there's a potential breaking point here. This SAM movement in the middle of the field is, I think, really good. I think this is good positioning of the SAMs because they're able to swing back and forth as they please. This is a very aggressive factory here, and like this is part of the thing where this production is great, but if it doesn't help you economically, there's a question of, you know, are you developing economically enough? Like, or rather, that's like, I feel like the best players on ladder that we watch replays of, they always take the first opportunity to get ahead economically, right? And so this barracks, you know, or factory, if it can't be held, this is going to be really tough, because already we're starting to see that we're pushing back here, and this is largely held. There's none of the buildings go down. We can see that there's multiple attack moves and selections on these buildings, which in our experience, if you select multiple buildings, your units will, it's not like, you know, like a shift attack move or something in other games. It's really, they will split their attention between all the buildings. Some units will go here, some units will go over here, to the left, to the right. You kind of want to pick, I think, one building. 3 SAMs against 3 helicopters, rather 4 SAMs against 3 helicopters. We'll see how bad this is for us. The answer is absolutely awful, but it's not really going to matter. We can see that we're getting enough SAMs here because we're starting to panic produce those SAMs, and it's starting to catch on. And at this point, you can feel that there's been kind of a shift in the momentum. World Supreme Leader's at 818 economy. We are at 968. And at this point, with the push going back, this is a perfect time to continue pushing economy. And I hope that I clicked the economy button and built a city here or more. You know, the better play would actually be that northern island where there's those cities. We can kind of, you know, take a look at all the different lines that we're both making. We're getting this kind of wide front here, and if we push too much with a big arty SAM blob, a counter nuke could be a great play, because if it's all bunched up and if you can land a nuke, it's a great way to kind of shift the momentum. So this factory is dead. There's no economy to develop in the back, which is unfortunate, but it was, you know, it did turn out to be a waste of money, in a sense, once we were able to kind of group up and push. These tanks keep running by to try to get the buildings. I love the idea. I think it's a very strong idea, especially with the multitask, you know, if you can get that going. But unfortunately for Supreme Leader, we're able to body block it, and some of our units are still here to deal with the tanks. We can see that these SAMs have been able to pick off quite a few airplanes, because we panic made all those SAMs, and these helicopters flying in are going to presumably get in trouble here, right? Like, there's no way that they can fly into this forest with 3, potentially 4 SAMs, and we can see just how bad this goes for World Supreme Leader, because what is it, 3 volleys that it takes? So we do get that helicopter, and now we have a big push coming across into the potential production of, like, into Supreme Leader's production. Missile pad in the mountains, this is sweet. At this point, this backdoor barracks has been cleaned up, or will be cleaned up. I think ultimately only 1 factory is able to be killed, but much like Dark Templar and like StarCraft 2, it's like half the time, I don't know if anyone's played StarCraft 2 here, who knows, but half the time the purpose of just like getting that backdoor, like kind of sneaky stealth unit is just to tax the multitask of the other player. What a sentence. And that's, you know, probably successful, because now these units were over here. We saw that there was a bunch of times that planes were sent over to that barracks to try to get rid of it. This push is going fine. This is kind of an important moment in the game, that the gas that World Supreme Leader has, these boats, were actually able to kill this refinery. Spoilers, at some point in the game, I think Nickname is going to tell us that instead of just grouping the boats and trying to get them close to the coast, like close enough to the coast to be able to kill this gas, just target the gas. So use a target command and tell your boats, like set the boats as the units to get it, because then they're pathing, they're going to be able to actually, they'll get closer than they ever could otherwise. Economy checks are always great to do. We're at 968. World Supreme Leader is at 842. I don't think that we are developing economically as well as we could have. I think there was probably a few moments of panic as that first push was coming in, and we built some barracks that we didn't really need, and now we're low on money. We're building cruisers because we'd like to maintain the naval advantage. We never know if they have a dock down here and then they show up with cruisers. It's probably not very likely. And the better way would be just to scout the coastline with the destroyers instead of investing in cruisers potentially. Yeah, see, this is what I mean about just use a target command, and we set the boats as the target, as the units to attack. This missile, if this missile pad can get up and nuke a big SAM blob, where we're not being disciplined about spreading out, which we never are, this could be good. This could be very good for World Supreme Leader. It could be a turning point, but this is still so far from being completed. We rebuilt a barracks. Luckily, we were able to keep this territory, so we still owned it, building it in the corner in the mountains. We could use it to scout the mountain range, but this is such an aggressive nuke spot because you can see the range on the nuke. Oh, we can't actually. In the replay system, well, actually, if we click on them, can we do it? No? I'm so sorry. So sometimes it seems like one player in particular in the replays, we can't actually click on their buildings to check. Because we can click on ours, but we don't build missile pads as like as a point. Just, you know, just as principle, we don't build missile pads. We can see this is like overwhelming force, and at this point, the game is probably over. We are 200 income ahead of Supreme Leader, and they are out of gas because we've able to deny their gases with our boats, which is I think that was one of the most understated parts of this game, is that these gases were never able to like fully get up and running, and it's just so many choppers that are stuck on the ground, right? There's another airport back here, and no tanks can be moved, the choppers can't be moved. Without the gas, it's just it's a tough position to be in, especially with another airfield or airport going down in the front. We can see what the econ development is like. This really needs to be a city by this point. There's no city over here. We are finally getting this little island and getting that set up. So we'll start to push ahead a little bit with the economy, because at this point we don't need any more production. We likely would hope that we pushed all the artillery across the map, but we didn't. Sitting at home, so are these folks. we'll say that it's to protect ourselves from commandos flanking. It's not. It's just because there's so much going on in this game. And, you know, it's hard. We're using these commandos to get rid of this power plant. I feel like if we see a power plant, it's usually, like, desperation isn't the word, but it certainly isn't the first thing that you want to do because there's so much less effective. But in this case, like, World Supreme Leader has no choice, right? Because these gases are pretty locked down. They potentially could, well, it's kind of a chicken and egg. They can't really send airplanes to defend those gases, maybe earlier, but even then, there's going to be missile boats over there, so it would be probably not ideal trades. We can check the income again. World Supreme Leader at 830, us at almost 1150, and so in that regards, pushing ahead for sure. And you can see that this front line is expanding and slowly over time, World Supreme Leader is breaking. We can see that the nuke is not quite ready. It's only halfway up the cone. And we learned this game that you actually need gas. You need 20 gas to launch a nuke. I'm pretty sure it was 20. I think it was 20. We don't know. 99% sure. In fact, no, it's 20. We're gonna say it's 20. There you go. That's the true facts. It's 20 to launch a nuke. So you actually need that gas. And right now, as we can see, World Supreme Leader has none. We were able to snipe that power plant. Another power plant going up in the back here, but at this point, the damage has already been done. We're going to be able to retake all of this economy of World Supreme Leader. This is being developed. We'll see in the north if we've gone city yet. We still haven't. A bunch of folks just hanging out. The best player, you know, you feel like the best players usually get the most out of all their units at all times. It's hard though. This game is intense multitask all the way through, it feels like, and the skill ceiling is, I mean, there's so much to go. Watch it, you know. We'll leave it at that. It's a very interesting game. If you haven't been able to try it, I do recommend it. At this point, it's over. World Supreme Leader's at 700 income. We're at 1200. These commandos are still being annoying, and these tanks are out of gas. So when units are out of gas, they take more damage from attacking units. They obviously can't move. It kind of sets this position up where they're kind of stranded and sitting ducks, so to speak. We can see what the gas is like for, yeah, there's still no gas for World Supreme Leader. These power plants aren't really going to be able to get enough at this point, and I don't think this nuke is going to be able to get off because of the gas problem. We'll see if this is even able to, I wonder how close this was. Is this close? Okay, so at that point it could launch. And it could be big, it could have been big, but I think we already are on top of the production and we're a little bit spread out. A nuke here would kill all of this, but then we have the follow-up, and that alone I think would be able to end this game. We're able to land folks down here so we could start building infrastructure and like production there if we wanted. This is a very, very optimistic nuke, but I appreciate the attempt. You gotta love the attempt. And yeah, I think that's about it. This is pretty over, but a very good game. Expanding off of the main island was the play. We didn't really get any of that econ going. We could have gone quicker, but that's you know, things that we learn and we'll incorporate as we ladder going forward. So thank you for stopping by. This is and props to World Supreme Leader and GG. I'll link their YouTube in the description of the video. They also have some Line War casts over on their channel, so go check it out and support the Line War content. Tomorrow's video is we're doing OrbNet, and someone said that my nickname sucks. So that's like, I mean, Orb is top of the ladder and nickname is like number 2, or at this point I don't know. The nickname's been mess around some different styles. So who cares what their rating is? They're very, very good at the game. So I'm excited for that. So yeah, GG's, and I hope you have a great evening, day, whatever it is for you. Have fun, enjoy, and again, shout out to World Supreme Leader for the games. GG. Have fun. Peace.